One of the things we often get asked about is how to produce some reasonable reports inside of MX to a sensible format. Historically, we've always had reports, standard reports, and all the geometry reports that you would expect, and all the geometry reports. But also, one thing I tend to use is dynamic reports. So if you go into dynamic reports, there's a fair selection of reporting options here that should suit all the needs that you require. I'll just go through the toolbar and explain a little in a bit more detail. Let me just zoom in on a suitable place. So the first option we have is partial model names. So you can just hit a tick and it will report all the models in the model file, or if you want to find ones that begin with the letter M, you can use the ones that begin with the letter M here. Fairly straightforward. The next one is string names. So we pick our model name, and in this case it's MX Tutorial Design, and we can either select a string or a partial label, or we can just hit the tick box and it will report all the strings in our particular model. You'll note here it will also give any sub-references, so for example interface, geometry and master strings, and number of points on that particular string, and the minimum XY, minimum maximum XY, and the number of dimensions and the Z values as well. So the next option we have, and probably the one that we get asked most about, is the reporting of sections. So I've got a section model already, or some sections already set up, and my reference model is MX Tutorial Design, and my reference string name here is highlighted. As you can see here, we can select from master strings only or any particular reference string. And again, it's just simply a case of hitting the tick button, and it goes away and reports the sections that we have. And if we zoom in, or we could even use this button here to zoom in, centralize and zoom in a bit further, you see we can scroll across the section and it will give you the details of each point on that particular section. So as you can see here, I'm on string cut name CE1L, and you can see the offset from the reference string and the X, Y and Z values for that particular string cut. We can also, as well as scrolling across, we can scroll up and down chainage, and again you'll see it's graphically represented on the display, and we can scroll across. So that's reporting section strings. The next one is a simple point report, and as I mentioned previously, we can pick our model name and our string name and just hit the green tick, and it scrolls through and produces point report. And again you'll see that graphically it's represented on the display, and if we go off the display somewhere, or we zoom to extents but want to get back to where we think we are, we can use the zoom button and it takes us there. There are several other options as well. We can report distance and bearing to a point from another location. So from our string name we can pick our center line, and if we just pick an XYZ in the middle of nowhere, it will tell us what the closest point to that particular string is, and what the extra information on that the string we've dropped it to. You can use point selection method here as well, and pick our fence string, and hit return, and if we zoom, then use the zoom tool, we'll see where the closest point is on that fence string to our reference string. There is an option for picking intersections. So if we look a little bit further up where we might have an intersection, we can pick string 1 and string 2. We can give start and end points if there's more than one intersection, or we can just hit the green tick and it will give us the intersection. Now that looks wrong, but here we have curve fitting turned on, so we simply turn curve fitting off and it finds the true intersection, and it gives all the information, including whether that's an interpolated point or an exact point here. And we also have the option of perpendiculars, so we can find the perpendicular, which is in this case if you're using just PSM XYZ, or of course we can change PSM to any of our selected ones and it will tell us the normal to our reference string from the point selected. Again, curve fitting can be turned on and off. Final option is multiple normals, where we can produce a pretty similar report for normal intersections. Fairly self-explanatory. Curve fitting we've already seen, and we can also pick a single point option for all of the selections if it's valid as well. So we can pick a single point instead of running through the whole lot for the options as well. That's about it. Couple of other points to note though. I'm just going to look at the dynamic report options. So number of decimal places can be changed, the angular units can be changed, decimal symbol, chainage format, delimiter, zoom factor and column width can be changed as well. And just so that one of the reasons, as I say, why we get asked this one is for certainly things like setting out reports. So I'm just going to run through our sections again, and the really handy one here is the output to a text file, sections report. It gives you a full date and time, date the section is produced, save it away, yes to overwrite, and if we have a look in our project folder, we'll see a nice section report which you can then do whatever you need to do with it. It's in a decent columnated format, so you can then import this into Excel if you wish.